Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to Manifesting Healing Monday. I am Dr. Kamani. Today we're having a celebration. We have been talking about Black women and workplace bullying all of October, all of November, and today is a celebration. We are celebrating ways that we have continue to stand up and rise, even though we've experienced hardship. Okay, so we want to celebrate ways that we have been manifesting healing. This is a very common experience. We've been talking about this for a while in terms of the different experiences. So, what we're going to do today is that we're going to have some listeners join in and talk about ways that they have been impacted by hearing the stories of various women talking about their experiences of workplace bullying and ways they've manifested healing. So we're going to have some listeners join in, and then we're also going to have some of our special guests who joined us before will be coming in talking about what it has been like for them to share their experiences here and also to share different resources with the listeners. So I want to thank everyone for joining today. I see people still coming in. So what we're going to do is we're going to just start off and just bear with us because people are going to be joining in and out, right? So again, this is just a reminder that even though we go through challenges as Black women, in terms of having higher rates of experiencing workplace bullying, still I rise. As Dr. Maya Angelou said, still I rise. We continue to rise. We will always rise, right? But sometimes we have to call a thing, like Iyanla Vanzant says, and say, this is not right. This is not okay. And the more that we stand up and say that, and the more that we share our stories, that is healing. It's healing for ourselves, and it's healing for us as Black women. So I'm going to start joining in some of our guests who will be joining us today. Again, they will be sharing just a little bit in terms of their experiences of listening to the stories of Black women, and we'll go from there, okay? If we have more time, we'll actually have the listeners, if you want to join in, you can join in as well. So I'm going to call out for Stephanie Williams. Dr. Stephanie Williams, are you on the line? And if you are, you could just press the button to join, and we can join you in the conversation. So I see a number of my people here, Catherine and Lita, Loren. Okay, so we are going to add Dr. Stephanie Williams. Okay, so she's joining in now, and we are going to include her in. Let's see. Stephanie, for some reason, it's not letting me join you. So if you can go out and come back in, and we'll try it again because it's not letting you. Oh, wait. Is that you?
Hi, Kamani.
Oh, thank you.
It's so good to
So
see
good to
you.
see you. Oh, no. Just very briefly, I met Dr. Stephanie when we went on a trip to Ghana in
Right.
2000 with the Association of Black Psychologists, and we were
Mhm.
both, in graduate school, and now we are professionals.
Yep.
So thank you so much for joining. And I just wonder if you could
Yeah.
just share just a little bit with the listeners. What has it been like to hear the stories of Black
Yeah.
women talking about workplace bullying?
Well, listening, first of all, it's awesome to have this platform. So thank you so much for doing this. I kind of stumbled upon um, this talk, and I was like, oh, wow, this is fantastic. And then you said, well, that's going to be it. Well, maybe not. So I was like, oh, please, let's have more. And so listening to all the women talk about their experiences, I was thinking, oh, no, that's not really, wait a minute. Yeah, that is me. That has happened to me. People will ask me to dim my light. I just saw one of your posts. It's like, you don't need to dim your light, for somebody else.
No,
So
right.
it's kind of like acknowledging it. The first thing for me
Mm,
was to acknowledge that, oh yeah, I guess I have been experiencing workplace bullying. I know that I've started to avoid certain people so that I don't have to experience their spirit per se,
Right.
but
Right.
just trying to, you know that I'm okay in and of myself, regardless of what other people may say. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, just recently, somebody else told me, calm down. And I'm like, calm down? What? Nobody else is having a problem with me saying this. Why is this a calm down type of moment? So one of the
Right. The
things
angry
I've,
Black woman, right?
right? I'm like, and I wasn't even angry. I was just trying to get my person's her productivity bonus. Seriously. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to be talking to Kamani tonight, so let me be quiet. Let me not say anything. I see my kid joined. My Michaela Mai that's my kid. Hi, Michaela.
Awesome. 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 So she's here to hear your story too.
Yeah,
So,
well,
so just
hello.
talking about, thinking about, I think as Black women, we experience so much stuff in the workplace that we kind of
Yeah,
just like we get used to it and like we pivot and, like, but at a certain point, it's like, wait a minute, this is not okay.
right.
Any workplace that asks you or presents to you to kind of dim your light is not
Yeah,
okay. Right. And that's a
exactly.
sign. I need to either avoid certain people. Like I said, I want to avoid those kind of spirits, right? And find my own way. But if this is
Right.
not healthy, I recognize it's not healthy. So, Dr. Stephanie, I
Yeah,
just want to thank you. Thank you. I'm
sure.
so happy to see your face. I haven't seen
Me
you
too,
in
in
forever
years.
and years. And so
Yeah,
after the pandemic dies down, I'm sure we'll be seeing each other.
I hope
So
so.
thank you so much for joining. I so
Sure.
appreciate it. So please
Thanks.
hang around.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to bring in our next guest. Okay.
Okay. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Okay. So now I'm going to bring in Miss Lori Ford. So, Lori. Oh,
How
Stephanie,
do I make myself go away?
you know what? Do you see the X? You might have to rejoin again. Do you see the X at the top?
Yeah, I'll do
So
that.
maybe X. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
And then come back.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Lori. Lori. Okay. So Lori. Hi, Lori. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, good, good. So I forgot to do it with Stephanie, but can you introduce yourself, Lori? I'm so
Okay.
sorry. I was so excited. I just got right into it.
Okay. No, you're good. So, hey, everybody. I am Lori Ford. I'm a licensed clinical mental health counselor in the entire state of North Carolina, and I help women. I guide them the women who are ready to nurture, heal, and acknowledge their inner child issues, basically the little girl inside, so they can become free, bold, and authentically themselves. That's just a little bit about.
Awesome. Awesome. And can you just briefly share about the authors boot camp? Just very briefly.
Yes, yes, guys. So I am a three-time author, and for over a year now, I have been helping other authors create their workbook, get them published within 30 days. And I have something called the Authors Boot Camp. And so you will learn so much about how to create your content in 30 days, how to use your voice because your voice has an assignment, but you will also learn how to build a legacy for your family. The Authors Boot Camp goes beyond the book. It goes through your legacy. And so enrollment is now open. It will close soon, guys. So the Authors Bootcamp, you can go to _Mrs. Counseling, click the link in my bio. And you can also look at the other stories. I've helped over 100 people create content, publish their books with resources under $1,000, y'all. So go ahead and check the program out.
Which is awesome, Lori, because we're talking about testimony, right? So in sharing books, your book, testimony, right? So what has it been like for you, Lori, to hear the Black women talk about their experiences of bullying, workplace bullying?
It brings back memories because I myself experienced work bullying when I first left grad school. I graduated. I was super excited getting in the workplace, and I was in my 20s, and I experienced work bullying from my principal. I was a school counselor first, and I thought I was going to retire there, but no. So just hearing other women, it makes me think of we need like a place or support group or something where these ladies or men can literally have a place to talk about it, because when I went through it, I didn't have that. And so nobody really understood what I was going through. They just said, oh, you're an adult, that's what happens when you get in the world. But no, it's actually called bullying or harassment. And so
Exactly.
I needed people. So when I hear other women, I'm like, wow, I wish there was something out there for women to be able to share with other like-minded women so we can get through it together.
Exactly. And it's no way that we should ever normalize being treated badly. And so when people tell us kind of like, oh, well, that's just part of the workplace. No, not the workplace I want to be a part of, right? Because we have options. Back in the day, we didn't have options. We have options now, right?
Love it.
So in the sense that it's empowering to hear other Black women talk about their experiences, so you're not alone, even though it is very sad to see how many of us, have and continue to experience workplace bullying.
Yeah.
So Lori, I want to thank you for joining. And listeners, please check out Lori on her Instagram in terms of the Authors Bootcamp and other resources she has. Lori and I are part of the Elite Coaching Program with Dr. TK, Branding for Abundance. So please check that out as well. Yeah. So again, Lori, thank you for taking your time. I know you're so busy. So thank you.
Anything for you. And I will see you later. Thank you for having me.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you. So we're going to be joining now Danielle. Danielle Scipio. Are you here? I thought I saw her earlier. Okay, we see more people joining in. Okay. Danielle, are you here? Okay, so I think I'm going to just jump around because we know as Black women, we are flexible when we make things happen, okay? So I'm going to kind of jump around. I know Danielle was on earlier, and then we'll come back to Danielle at some point. Oh, here she is. Danielle. Hi, Danielle.
Hi, Kimani.
Good to see you. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having
and Danielle,
me.
of course. Can you tell just a little bit about yourself? And then I'll just ask you just a couple of questions.
Okay. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, but I currently work for LA County Office of Education as a community school specialist. But
Your sound went out, Danielle.
dissertation.
I'm sorry, your sound
Can you
went
hear
out.
me
So
now?
say
My
that again.
phone was ringing.
Yeah, I hear
I
you
said
now. What were you saying about did you say
okay.
dissertation?
I'm 2 weeks away from my oral defense, so I'm super excited about that.
I don't know when you started.
Yes, it's been a journey.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So happy for you. So Danielle, if you could just tell the listeners a little bit in terms of, as you were listening to the Black women talk about their experience of workplace bullying, what really resonated with you?
Gosh, a lot of things. It was just very validating and reassuring because I think like someone else said, I've experienced workplace bullying and it feels so isolating. You think like, why is this happening to me? Am I doing something? Because I mean, I experienced bullying in high school, but I definitely
Mm-hmm.
didn't expect to experience it as an adult in the workplace. So
Right.
just to hear so many different stories, it was affirming. But also, what really caught my attention was just knowing when to leave, right? And not
Mm-hmm.
feeling like you're running away. No, you're
Mm-hmm.
actually you're taking care of yourself because like someone
Yes.
else said, we have options. You don't have to
Yeah.
stay in a toxic environment that's not good for your mental health and your physical
Mm-hmm.
health because
Right.
in the long term, if you just continue to just absorb all of those things, it's really going to
Mm-hmm.
impact you physically and you may not be able to work. So that really
Exactly.
resonated with me.
Exactly, because I think a lot of times with Black women, number one, we're we're so used to working and working so hard to get any type of the attention that we deserve, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I think part of what happens is that it's kind of like, you're not going to run me out of here. Like, I put too much time in here. I've invested too much, but it's killing us. And it's
Right.
like, well, what's the point? What's the point of
Mm-hmm.
staying somewhere where you're not being affirmed, where you're being harmed? It does not help you. And so you pointed out a really good point, when to know when to leave, right? So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes there's a moment where you try everything and you say, it's time to go.
Right.
So just Danielle, very briefly, if you could just tell the listeners, how would they even arrive to that conclusion? It's time to go.
Well, I know for me, if I'm driving to work with knots in my stomach, and I'm just physically feeling ill, I know that's
Hmm,
not sustainable for me,
right.
and it's not what I want for my family. I need to be here
Yes.
for my children. So for
Yes.
me, that's when I knew when it's really, it's one thing to be strategic and, okay, they're not going to include me, but I know my job, I know what I'm doing, I'm going to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's another thing to
Hmm.
be impacted physically, where, it's just hard to get up and go. So I think
Yeah.
that's what it was for me.
Yeah. Very powerful. Very powerful. Well, thank you, Danielle. And we're
You're
wishing you all
welcome.
the support as you defend your
Thank you.
dissertation. We'll be calling you doctor soon. So
Thank
proud of you.
you.
So proud
Thank
of
you
you.
so
Um,
much.
yes. And thank you for joining and all your support over the years.
Absolutely. Thank you for doing
Yeah.
this. I love it.
Yeah. Take care, Danielle.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, so now we are going to bring in Dr. Loren Hill. Loren, are you with us? Loren, are you with us? I love hearing this conversation. We're hearing common themes amongst the listeners and the women who've already talked about the experience of workplace bullying. So, number one, questioning, is this just me? Did I do something? So, yeah, usually when something happens, it's important to self reflect. But when you're able to self reflect and say, wait a minute, this is not me, this is the situation, that is very validating that you're able to talk to other people or talk to other women and know they have similar experiences. So we're going to join in Dr. Loren Hill. Okay, so I'm joining you in, Loren. Hi,
Hi there.
how are you?
Good. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Thank you for joining us again. And if you could just briefly introduce yourself, and then we'll talk a little bit in terms of your experiences of sharing your story.
Hi, everybody. I'm Loren Hill. Thank you again so much for inviting me to be here this evening. I'm a clinical psychologist in California, and my specialty is neurodevelopmental psychology, and I am a academic career coach.
Awesome, awesome. So, Dr. Hill, can you just share a little bit? What was it like to share your story of experiencing workplace bullying on IGTV Live?
It was really empowering and validating to be able to tell my story. I'm several years out from the incidences that I talked about with you all, and I felt
Mhm.
comfortable because I have healed from that. So
Hmm.
when I first was going through it and left, I was really traumatized and it was
Yeah.
difficult for me to talk about it. I was embarrassed.
Mm.
I felt like it was me. What did I do wrong? I could have handled this differently. But partly I felt that. And the other part I felt was like, you know what? It was time to go. So
Yeah.
having some space between my departure from that place and
Mhm.
speaking about it, on your show, I was in a healthy place to be able to talk
Yeah.
about it. So I didn't feel like I was being traumatized again to discuss it.
Right, right, right. So it was kind of like with trauma treatment, right? That we asked people to keep telling the story over and over and over again. And you said something
Yes.
that's very interesting. I want to just ask you just a little bit if you could elaborate. You said you felt embarrassed, when it first happened. What was the embarrassment about? What do you think contributed to that?
Yeah, so it was a little bit about what you had spoken to the, your previous guest about it. Like they're not going to run me up out of here, and then, well, they did kind of run me up out of here. But then
Hmm.
upon reflection, no, they didn't. They didn't have that much power over me. I made a conscious decision to pack my little toys and go somewhere and play with somebody who wanted to play with me, right? So
Right.
it really is like taking back your power and feeling
Yeah.
empowered.
Yes, yes, yes. I think it's a distorted sense of power that we have. Like, no, I'm going to stay here, right? Because I'm showing my power, but you're getting broken down in the process. So, how
Yes.
powerful are you? But to say, you know what, you can have this because I don't need it. And to take your power and, as you said, take your toys and go somewhere else, that's true power. And so it's important to recognize that. And so you said that, after time has gone by, you look back and reflect it, and you are thankful that you left that toxic environment, right?
Very thankful and was validated 10 times over by places that I did take my toys and my skill sets, right? So, as you mentioned before, we do have options, and it's a
Yes,
big world out there. We're very talented. The world needs to see our brilliance, it doesn't need for
absolutely.
our brilliance to be dimmed.
Yes. And our brilliance doesn't need to be distracted by trying to convince people who don't see our brilliance. We
Right.
need to go take our toys someplace where people want to play with our toys. I love that
Exactly.
metaphor. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Hill. So you actually talked, as you were talking about that part, about ways you've manifested healing also, is that you had a support network and you had people who validated, girl, no, it's time to go. It is not you.
Yes.
It's time to go. And so it's important for us to really dial into what are our forms of healing, particularly cultural forms of healing. And as Black women, it's usually other Black women. And so you had that. You had that and have
Yes,
that.
and I think what you're doing here is you're providing an opportunity for that, for us to support each other. We know each other, we know mutual friends, we know Dr. TK. And
Yes.
so in these situations where we can go to somebody and bounce it off of them, like, what do you think about this? Or wow, I'm really having it rough. And then to be
Yes.
able to be strategic about how to move out of that environment or plan for something different, it
Mhm.
matters. Your network matters.
Absolutely. You made me think about Harriet Tubman in terms of thinking about your way out. Sometimes we have to take the Underground Railroad to get out of certain situations, but there's a way out. If Harriet can do it, we can do it. Okay. So I want to
Absolutely.
thank you so much, Dr. Hill, for joining in. I so appreciate you. And so we're going to now transition to our next guest. This is like a speed kind of share out, type of session. So have a good evening, Dr. Hill. Okay, so we are now going to join in Lita Buchanan. And Lita, I know I saw you earlier because I saw you commenting a few times. So, and Lita, if you can now put in the request to join. And Lita, okay, we see more people joining in. And we're talking about just so many different options we have. And sometimes when we are in a situation, we feel stuck. But what's important for us to realize, particularly that workplace bullying is a form of trauma, number one. But number two is that we have to find a way not to get stuck in that and recognizing that we have options and also paying attention to those symptoms that we're having in terms of the physical, spiritual, emotional symptoms we might be having that our jobs are causing us harm. Okay. So I see Anlita is joining us now. Anlita, let's see. Okay. And Lita, can you hear us? Can you hear me? And Lita, I think the same thing that's happening the first time when you tried to join is doing it again. So it's not letting me join you in. So Anita, if you could go out and come back in, I'm not sure what you did before in terms of like notifications, but if you could try that and come back in, okay? So I'm going to go into the next guest. Thank you, Anita, and then we'll keep talking, okay? So Rochelle, Dr. Rochelle Robinson, I know I saw you as well. If you can click the icon to join us. Let's see. Dr. Robinson? Okay. Okay. Okay, so we're joining in Dr. Robinson right now from New York. Hi, how are you, Dr. Robinson?
How are you?
Good. I always want to call you Dancing Queen every time I see you.
And I was definitely a dancing queen. I was dancing
Yes,
on.
yes, yes, yes. So, Dr. Robinson, I want to just, again, thank you for joining today. And if you could just do a brief introduction.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Rowe. I am a New York State licensed school psychologist. I work with teenagers and young adults who are going through transitions. I am also a college professor and a new author. So I've done my first book. It is a journal, so that will be coming out soon. That's who I am.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Besides being a dancing queen. So, Dr. Robinson, if you could just share a little bit with the listeners, what has it been like to share your experience of workplace bullying?
I thought it was really amazing to share that. Anyone who follows me knows that I've been in the field for like 13 years, and a lot of the younger school psychs are experiencing that. So for them to actually hear that I went through that, um, it just lets them know that they are not alone and
Hmm.
way out.
Yeah,
So, it's something that you may experience, but it's definitely something that, you kind of have a guide in terms of what
yeah.
you are in that situation. So, a lot of people will see me now like, oh, she handles all of this well, but I
Hmm.
go through the fire to
Yes,
get.
yes, yes. And Dr. Robinson, I think you raise a really good point that as Black women, we are so used to presenting that we're okay, right? And you talked about even just how difficult it was because you received some very difficult news, at the beginning of the year, but you had to wait out the whole school year at that same toxic environment. So as Black women, how we kind of pull it together, we do what we got to do, we save face, but we may be miserable
Yeah.
internally.
Mm.
Mm, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And I think you said also that because of that experience, you recognize, wait a minute, as you went to the next place, you're like, this is not what I want for my life.
yeah. And I was able to navigate it, like I was able to say, okay, I see what's going on, and I am planning my exit. And
Yes.
it's about the kids, so I'm making sure that they are okay, and I'm gonna be
Mhm.
okay, like on my way out. So,
Exactly.
and some people were just really shocked that what they would do didn't like it didn't bother me because I
Hmm.
knew what expect, and just being able to like duck and dodge that threw them off of their game. Like,
Right.
throw me off. I know what's going on, and God bless you. Good night.
Right. So you're playing the game to as much as you can, but then you're like, I don't even want to be playing this game. I want to go on my own field and do my own thing. And just briefly, Dr. Robinson, before you get off the line, you also talked about the struggles in terms of when we want to tell our mothers, about our dreams and, wanting to do private practice. And Dr. Robinson is also in Dr. TK's program in terms of the elite coaching program. So what was that like to talk about that in terms of the experience you went with your mom and that transition?
It was being an adult, you know. Like your parents just want you to be okay, and they
Yeah.
have a great job, then you're settled in, you're fine. And, me telling her was, I'm gonna be okay. Like I know what I'm doing, I've been planning this. So it's just one of those things where who are you going to live for? Are you gonna live for some,
Mm,
or really follow what your passion and your dreams are, and what do you believe you can do? Because if you
right.
that you can be successful, it will happen, like despite what anyone
Hmm.
thinks, because they've never seen this. Sometimes you are the
Hmm.
example for others.
Yes. And you're the one who has to live this life. So even though people might want things or have different expectations for you, you're the one who has to live it. So being clear about that and just really, setting your limits and setting boundaries, and also sometimes recognizing who we can tell what to and when we tell them, because sometimes they may try to, discourage you about doing things, right?
Like I said, I didn't tell for like 3 weeks because I knew she was going to be like, no, no, no. And at that point, it really is a leap of faith. In
Yes.
a moment, you can decide to like back out.
Yes,
You just have to jump. So I
you
jumped.
do.
Thank God it has worked out well and success has come. I'm so just grateful for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Robinson. And please just tell everybody again how they can purchase your book.
You can go to my Instagram page. You can go to the link that is in the bio and join the email list. I do have an announcement coming out this week of when pre-sales start. So you definitely want to get on there so that you can be the first to know. So at Pivotal Point Psych, and the Linktree link is there. It's the first little click, and I'm there.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Robinson. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. Okay, bye.
Bye. Okay, so we will try to join in now. And Lita Buchanan, I know she was having some challenges earlier, but we will try again. And Lita, if you can try again to try to join us, we would love to hear your voice and hear about your experiences and your book as well. And Lita, are you there? I know that we talked before. I'm seeing the chat. Dr. Smedley. First, I want to give a shout out to Dr. Smedley. She has these awesome shirts. I don't have it on today, but I did wear it when I did the interview with Dr. Robinson and Dr. McInnes. And the shirt said, Black Psychologists Matter. And so she has a whole line of t-shirts, sweatshirts, for other professions as well. So I encourage you to please check out her handle. She's on the line now. And I see in the chat, it says, this weekend, my uncle said, every time a baby is born, it's a potential client. Essentially, we will always have work to do. That is so true. That is so true. So true. So particularly when we think about now, we as people are more receptive to mental health. Many times we would hear, oh, I'm not crazy. That's for crazy people. That's not for us. But now we're becoming more aware of the need for healing because as Black people, we have and continue to go through so much. So workplace bullying is one thing that we go through, but there's so many things we go through. Yes, we are strong. We are resilient. But sometimes we get hurt. And sometimes we need to pause and rest and heal. And so you're right, Dr. Smedley. There's always a need for more of us, particularly when we go to therapy, we typically want to see somebody who looks like us. because we don't want to feel like the person's not going to understand us, or we have to re-explain. So yes, that is so true that there will always be work for us. So, and Lita, are you able to join? Okay, invite me, please. Okay, so I see Anlita now, and she's saying invite me. Okay, so I just invited you, Anlita. Let's see if you're able to join. It worked. Okay, hey, Anlita.
Hey, 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 hey. There we go. Wow. Technical difficulties all the time with me. I'm so
I know, but there's my Chicago sister. How you doing, girl?
cold.
I hear you. But you got your you got some insulation right there, right?
Oh, yes, ma'am. And the kids were loving it today. They could
I
not keep
love
their hands
it.
off my hair today.
I love it. I love it. So, Anlita, if you could just share with the listeners, what was it like to share your experiences of workplace bullying here?
Sure. First of all, hi, everybody. I'm Alita Buchanan. I'm a special educator. I'm a teacher self-care advocate and author. And this experience has been amazing to me. And I think the thing that resonated with me the most was that I thought when I was amongst my brothers and sisters that I was in a safe place, that there would be no bullying. And
Mm,
unfortunately, some of the most traumatizing experience that I've had has been from people that look like me. So I think when we talk about workplace bullying and Black women, we immediately think that it's someone who doesn't look like us that's doing the
yeah.
bullying. And in my case, unfortunately, I had started to develop this bias against working with other African American women in particular,
Mm,
because that is where I had experienced the most trauma and the most hurt, where we're supposed to protect and love on one another. And
yeah.
instead, it's like you guys were talking about that dynamic of they're going to run me out of here. And
Mm,
that's okay with me. I'm going to go
mm.
somewhere. I love the analogy the sister used about, I'm going to go with somebody that I can share my toys with,
Yes,
somebody that wants to play with me. So
yes.
yeah, that resonated with me that, I thought I was in a safe place with my own brothers and sisters, but sometimes we can be hard on each other.
Yes. So issues like internalized oppression and the divide and conquer and all the negativity. And you raise a really good point too, that many times we assume that because other people are Black, that they're going to look out for us. And that's not necessarily true, because white supremacy is white supremacy. So you don't have to be white to follow those practices. It doesn't matter. But if you subscribe to that whole way of bringing people down and competition, and it's all unhealthy. And like Zora Neale Hurston said, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. And so I
Oh,
think that really you saw that and you experienced that to the point that you were like, I don't even want to work with Black women again.
no, ma'am.
So what helped to manifest that healing, Anlita? What helped?
Um, I made it through. I made it through. At one point, you guys don't know my journey, but I had quit teaching. And, my faith system, I believe in God. I don't know if everybody does, but he literally shook me out of bed and was like, you're not done. You're not done. And I say you're not done. And so
Hmm.
now I just walk with a different purpose. And I think someone mentioned earlier, you can just tell when someone's kind of poking at you, or I've heard the giggles in the hallway. I don't look like the average teacher. I don't dress like the average teacher. I do my own thing. And I get the giggles and this, that none of that has to do with me reaching those babies. And so
Right.
I have what I like to call laser-like focus. I had a sister that had done a speech and she said you have to have laser-like focus on your goals, and reaching those kids are my goals. So if it has nothing to do with them and nothing to do with their achievement and nothing to do with me becoming a
Hmm.
better teacher, I don't
Hmm.
even worry about it. I
See
don't
ya.
even
Bye,
feel anything.
Felicia, right?
Yeah, and
Bye,
it seems
Felicia,
to bring
gone.
people even crazier. When you're unbothered, then they're going after you even harder because they're trying to figure out how to get to
Right,
you. So, yeah, at this
right,
point,
right,
I'm
right,
just about impenetrable at this point. I've been through so much.
right. Right. It's kind of like, the documentary Eyes on the Prize. It's like in the civil rights movement that all these things were happening to us as a people, but we kept our eyes on the prize. Same with you. You keeping your eyes on my reason I'm here is for these babies. I don't know what you about, but I'm about the babies. And so staying very true to our purpose is something that helps sustain us, and also knowing our worth, because people are always going to come and try to challenge you or try to have you dim your light. But if you know your worth, it's not going to happen. And Alita, can you just share with the listeners who were not able to hear before about how you were able to manifest healing with a woman that you didn't think that you would be able to manifest healing with? Like, she helped the process in a very different kind of way.
Yeah, one of
Unexpected.
the sisters that was the hardest on me, she was a co-teacher, and I just could not understand her. And I mean, there were swear words flying, and meet me in the parking lot, and we had gotten very sisterhood with we with one another. And that relationship turned into, at one point we had just broken down and been very vulnerable with one another after I quit. And she said, "Well, why did you quit?" And I'm thinking, you're part of the reason that I quit. Why would you ask me that? And she said, "But I see something in you, like you're a good teacher, and I'm hard on you because I'm frustrated, and I want to see you know all of these things, and I realize that you don't know." So some background is I'm a suburban teacher transferring into this Chicago public school system. Well, she was born and raised in it. And so we just had two very different viewpoints. And so I viewed her as too tough, and she viewed me as too soft. And so we learned how to balance each other out. So after I quit, she came and she picked me up last summer, almost summer before last. It'll almost be 2 years at this school. And she just didn't give up on me. She kept calling, and I kept
Wow.
telling her no. And she kept calling, and I
Wow.
kept telling her no. And she just would not give up on me. So here I am, stronger than ever. I love what I do. I know I'm making an impact with these kids. But if it weren't for us being vulnerable with each other
Yeah.
and having
Yes.
that conversation, I
Yeah.
probably would be back in teaching. I had applied at Chase Bank. I was done.
Wow. Going
Yeah.
somewhere totally different, right? Missing your
Yeah.
calling. And what you said too, Anlita, is so, so, so powerful in the sense that as Black women, you know, being vulnerable with one another, but supporting and lifting each other up. And
Yeah.
also that she's able to share with you, I see the gift in you. To be able to say that with humility, I see the gift in you, and be proud of that, not in a competition way, but I see it. And even if you don't see it, I'm going to keep working with you so that you see it too. So that's such a powerful example of sisterhood. Even if it started off rocky, it transformed and it manifested. And she was very instrumental in your healing journey.
Very much so. And again, I learned how
Wow.
to be a little tougher from her. And she said she learned how to be a little more softer because of me. So we needed that balance from one another instead of seeing it as a difference and kind of going at each other's throats. So she knows who she is, and I love her.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So, Lita, do you have your book? Because I know that you talked a lot in terms of your healing journey and how it's captured in your book. And so I would love for listeners to see and hear a little bit about your book and how to access it.
Sure. Do I have my book? I just about sleep with it. I'm so proud of it because it's a little snippet. It's like an airplane read. It's a little snippet of my journey through education and some of the experiences that led to my breakdown and to me eventually quitting. But then I also talk about how I did manifest healing and what are some techniques that I use that I'm able to stand strong today. And it's called More Than a Manicure. And you guys can find it on Amazon or on my website, www.wrappedineducation.com. I'm usually wearing some kind of African head wrap, but not today.
Well, I want to encourage
Oh,
all listeners. Yes. What were you
I'm
saying?
sorry. I owe a couple of people a book, so charge it to my head and not my heart. It's just been crazy for the holidays, so those books are going out because last time we talked, there were a couple of people that did reach out. So if you are on this live, your book is coming. I promise.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Anlita. I so appreciate you. And, just very briefly in terms of, I met Anlita, I was at a teacher educator self-care conference, and Anlita told her story in terms of her experience of workplace bullying and how it really impacted her on a very significant level, to the point, yes, she left the profession, and it really devastated her. And when I heard your story, Anlita, just the vulnerability you had with the audience and talking about your healing journey, I was like, I got to meet this woman. I got to meet this woman. I tracked you down and you were receptive. We talked. And so I just appreciate you and sharing your journey with everyone, because I just think it's so powerful and so healing. So thank you so much, Anlita.
This platform, it's so important. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care, girl.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye. So I'm going to open it up. If there are any listeners who would like to join in, just to briefly talk about what this experience has been like for you in terms of hearing Black women talk about their experience of workplace bullying. I have said that this is going to be our last IG Live on this topic. Who knows? We might have more topics on it, because so many women have come forward and talked about, this has happened to me. I thought I was alone. It's really healing to hear about the experience of other Black women. So we may have additional ones in the future. I am going to take a break, however, because I've been doing this every Monday, October and November. So I'm going to take a little break. But I do want to let you guys know that based upon the feedback that I've received from you guys, I just want you to know, again, you are not alone. I know what it's like to experience workplace bullying. And because of the experiences that I've had from clients, that I've heard from you guys, as well as my own personal experiences, I've decided to develop a coaching program for Black women. So it's a manifesting healing coaching program to really help Black women in terms of when we're in toxic work environments. Sometimes we may want to leave, but we have been harmed and we're hurting. And so this coaching program provides an opportunity to have some healing as you kind of get your mind together to then transition, right? So to come up with an exit plan. So the job coaching program that I'm offering is virtual, so it's open to anyone. You don't have to be in California, because it's not therapy. It's very different than therapy. It's coaching. So it's a group program that's 5 sessions, virtual, and it's for Black women. So how do we come to the understanding of where are we in terms of our capacity for change at this time? Because many times we say, oh, I'm ready, I'm done. But you may not be really ready to make that change, right? So assessing, are you really ready to make that change? Are you really committed? Also looking at the disconnect between when you came into a job, many times we have dreams of how the job was going to be, what we were going to be like at that job, what we were going to accomplish. And there's sort of a mourning process when you realize at a certain point, it did not turn out like this. This is not what I expected. So many times we need to grieve so that we can then move on. And then also, how do we identify those professions, those areas of interest that are really aligned with our purpose? And then how do we develop that exit plan to transition out, right? Start developing that plan. And as we're doing that, how do we sustain ourselves? Because, change is good, but change can be stressful too. So how can we also have that foundation as we start making those changes? So if you are interested, or if you know of anyone else who may be interested in participating in the Manifesting Healing Job Coaching Program for Black women, the information is in Linktree in my bio. So feel free to click the link, and you can, schedule a 15-minute free consultation to learn more about the group, and also to see if you're a good fit for it, because the group is going to be limited. Okay. So again, I want to thank everyone for participating, joining in this series. You guys have been really incredible. I just had this vision one day in the shower, of doing this, providing a platform, because what I have experienced and the work that I do is that when I show examples of how I'm manifesting healing. And that if I can bridge that, my own personal experiences of manifesting healing with professional, ways that I've manifested healing or supported the manifesting healing of others, it's so powerful. And we as a people are in need of healing, and healing is here. Healing is possible. There are so many of us who are available to provide support one another, but we have to recognize that it's not just about me, it's about us. It's about our collective, because the more we grow, we will continue to grow our communities. So as I said before, we are lifting as we climb. So as we climb forward, we have to pull and reach back to our sisters and brothers to help them move forward as well. So again, I want to thank everyone again for joining. Also, please check out my YouTube channel, Lifting As We Climb Consulting Wellness Services, and subscribe and share the videos with others. And so I will see you when I see you. So you all take care. Have a good evening. And check out the Manifesting Healing Job Coaching Program for Black women. Have a good night. Bye.